Cool. Sounds good.
You're going to do great, man. Oh, are we live? I think we're live. Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon from wherever you are in the world. I'm Josh Garrison. We've got a treat for you all today. I'm going to let everybody trickle in. We've got people still coming right now. But we have a treat for you. So in the chat, we got people in from England, San Diego, Boston. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I have a treat for you. His name's Anthony Balestras. Anthony, where are you coming in from today?
Yeah, so I currently live in Tampa, Florida, and enjoying that sunny, warm weather. Nice to meet you all, and thanks for having me, Josh.
It's great to have you back, Anthony. Great to be working with you. All right, y'all, in the chat, first question. Can you guys hear me okay? Ooh, we got people in from the Philippines, Portugal. Yeah, okay, great. You guys can hear me? I want to hear it. What's the highest number of cold calls you've ever made in a single day? We're going to run this. We'll do it for a minute or two while more people come in. 168, 115, 40, 400 from Benjamin. Holy smokes. 100, over 100, 190, 120. Anthony, what's the most you've ever done?
So the most I've ever done in a day, and this is not by hand dialing, this is with, obviously a dialer. It's around 1,500 or 1,500.
1,500.
I don't recommend that. I know that's a lot. I don't do that every day, trust me, but it was a lot. Cold calling all day pretty much.
That's too many. So, all right, yes, for everybody, this call is the webinar is being recorded, and we're going to share it with you out afterwards. Mitch, we're going to cover how to get $1,500 in a day. 1,500 is too many. It's way too many. I'll share you guys with a story before we get into this. When I started my career in sales way back, when you had to walk uphill in the snow both ways to close a deal, 80 dials a day with a desk phone that I had to manually punch the number. There was no VoIP or anything. That was my daily target. Yeah, Ashley, you're going to get a recording of it after. Okay, so we are 2 minutes past the top of the hour. People are still trickling in, but we're going to get started. So walking through the agenda today, we're going to run through a little bit of housekeeping. I'll talk about myself for just a second or two because we have a great agenda. We're going to talk about how to win at cold calling with Anthony. I'm going to talk for a few minutes about, as a leader, as a sales leader or as an SDR manager, how to manage a team and keep them productive on the phone. And then, we're going to get into cold calling in Apollo. I'm going to show you how to do it, find numbers, make dials, coach your reps, and get that bread. If you're looking at the screen and you're like, how can I make this full screen? I'm going to show you. Hover over the screen, click on it a couple times, and in the bottom right-hand corner, after you do that, you should see a little box you can click on, which will take you into a full screen mode, okay? But let's get started. So, perfecting the cold call, how to win on the phones. This is sponsored by Apollo. That's where I work. You all hopefully know what Apollo is. If you don't have an Apollo account, almost everything we're going to talk about today requires an Apollo subscription to professional or custom plan to pull off well, okay? So head over to Apollo.io and sign up if you don't have an account, or you can wait. I'm going to give you guys a direct line to the Apollo sales team where you can talk to them about getting set up with exactly what you need. Some housekeeping, okay? We are recording this, but we're live. We're here live, but we're recording it. So if you have to leave, I'm going to be offended, but I will send you the recording anyway. That'll come out into your email, so keep an eye on that. If you have a question, I try and keep my eye on the chat, but y'all, there's like 1,000 of you guys and one of me. So drop it into the questions box because we have Radu Vaduva, our head of support, here live answering questions. So go to the question box and put it in there. And if you want to mute notifications, there's some way to do that, but you don't need that. Okay, a little bit about me. I'm our head of content marketing here at Apollo and a recovering sales leader. I spent the last 13 years of my career building and managing go-to-market teams, including SDR teams, AE teams, and everything in between. I was an early user of tools like Apollo, ZoomInfo, Outreach, SalesLoft. So I've been in the game for a while. But we're not here to hear about me, y'all. We're here to hear about Anthony Balestras. Anthony, tell us about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? Where are you from?
Yeah, so thanks so much, Josh, and thanks so much for the Apollo team for having me. Yeah, a little bit about me. I'm 25. I currently live in Tampa, Florida. I am moving to New York City soon, in about a month-ish. So really excited for that. Moving sucks, by the way. So it's a lot of work that goes into that. And I pretty much make a living off of cold calling. That's pretty much how I made a living for the past like 2 or 3 years or so right now. And I absolutely love it. And on the side, I'm super into fitness, exercising, nutrition, things like that. And yeah, that's just a little bit about me. And pretty simple guy.
All right, so y'all, I told you all in the email invite. Hey, first of all, y'all roasting Anthony for not making his bed. Chill out. All right, everybody, relax.
I thought it was made. I thought it was pretty nice.
You're getting roasted for it. All right. So here's how I know that Anthony is one of the best cold callers in the world. Anthony used to work for me at our last company. So that's not a title that I throw around lightly. I don't just go out and find any jabroni on the street and say, hey, y'all, I found the best cold caller. Anthony is legit. He is the real deal. And he's going to share a lot of what he's learned with us. So Anthony, let's take it away. Where do you start with cold calling? How do you put yourself in the mindset to win?
Yeah, great question, Josh. So a thing that I like to say is control what you can control, right? You can't control how the other person on the line feels about you cold calling them. You can't control their day. You can only control the output you can actually put in. You can control how many cold calls you make, how many people you speak to, hopefully, with the right tools, and things like that. So focus on what you can control. If someone answers the phone and they're really rude and obnoxious, you can't control that. So move past it. Don't let it bring you down and just focus on what you can control. That's the biggest thing that I've learned when cold calling.
Absolutely. On that, I wanted to chime in and say something. So to me, like, consistency seems to be the most important thing, right? I had this graphic image that we had. Consistency, I think people make a misunderstanding of what consistency means. You can be consistent by showing up every day and giving 100%. You can also be consistent by showing up every day and just doing it a little bit every day. Okay. Anthony, talk to me about that. How do you handle consistency in your cold call process?
Yeah, great question, Josh. So this is a perfect image of literally my how my week to week goes by. There's some days where I prospect more than others. There's some days where I don't feel like cold calling because that's pretty much normal. We're all human. We all have our days where we don't feel like doing something, but the biggest challenge is just showing up and just putting in the effort each and every day. Now, some days you might put in 60% effort. Some days you might be super motivated and put in 100% effort. But as long as you're showing up every day or, Monday through Friday when cold calling or prospecting, that's consistency. So don't get down on yourself if you have not so big of a day or if everything's up and down. As long as you show up, that's the biggest thing. And that's what consistency actually is.
Would you say, how important is it to dial every day?
So important. And me and my SDRs that I work with, we always talk about ripping off the cold call Band-Aid, we like to say. And that's basically like before you cold call for the first time in the day, basically you're like, oh, I don't want to call. I don't want to really call. But just by doing it, you rip that Band-Aid off and you just feel perfectly fine. So that's what I learned, and it's super important.
I totally agree. All right, so these are some stats. Talk to us about this, Anthony. What are we looking at here?
Let's do it. This is these are my favorite numbers. So this is actually within Orum that tells you how you do for like your cold calling sessions and everything like that. But basically, in about 2.5 hours of cold calling on one day, I made about 233 dials, 31 connects, and 11 conversations which led to 5 meetings. Okay, 5 meetings, and another screenshot was about 100 dials. 9 connects, 5 conversations, and 2 meetings, guys. So I know, the saying I like to say is, with cold calling, it literally is a numbers game. And the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And that's like anything else in this world. Like the more you practice, the more you resharp your script and what you're pitching, like the more you're just going to get better and better. It's just all about showing up and being consistent.
Totally agree. And I think that's going back to, this is consistency, 233 dials, but so is 100 dials.
Yeah.
And it's way more important to make dials than it is to make 1 million dials, right? If you do it every day, you're going to build a pipeline. We're going to talk about exactly how to do that, but I think it's important to talk about headspace, okay? And yes, everybody asking, how do you make 230 dials in a day or in 2.5 hours? Anthony's going to tell you.
So yeah. We'll talk about it later. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you're going to talk about it. I
Okay.
want to talk about like, what does your cold call funnel actually look like?
Yes, yes. So pretty much when I'm prospecting an account, and I prospect many, many different accounts because we have a large TAM, which is a total addressable market. And basically, let's say I make 2,000 dials, right? I might only get 150 connects, which might lead to 70 conversations. Now, the difference between a connect and a conversation is a connect, you get someone on the phone and they answer, but they don't really want to talk to you. It happens. So don't get discouraged when it does happen, when someone's like, I don't want to talk to you on the phone, or just hangs up or something like that. 70 conversations is actual having conversation, understanding their pain points, what they're, struggling with. Are they struggling with pipeline? Do they need better lead generation data? Like it's all about asking these questions and figure that out. And this led to 15 meetings. And I know this data might not seem the best, but you guys got to keep in mind, it's important to do this. Talk to multiple different people from these companies, right? So I target people that aren't decision makers all the time, but I do that not to get a meeting, but to literally understand what the company's struggling with. So even getting that information from these people is super valuable. So when you actually talk to these VP level people, you actually know what you're talking about and you stand out from everyone else in the crowd. So getting that information is like gold. It's super valuable.
100%. I think the only thing I would like to highlight here is, the math of cold calling can be brutal, right? If you have to make 2,000 dials to get 15 meetings and you only maybe close 30 to 50% of your meetings, right? Like there's a lot of work that goes into it. So the way you can optimize this funnel is by calling the right people with the right game plan in place, like Anthony's talking about, and using the right tools to help you make the number of dials you need to make. So,
yeah,
all right,
Josh, I just want to, I saw a few people were asking, is this 2,000 dials per day? No, it's not. I make about 150 to 300 dials a day. Just to clarify.
We're talking about at a high level, y'all, right? Like 2,000 in a month, right? Or just what does the cold call funnel look like? Okay. So what would you say is the secret to cold calling, Anthony?
Well, there's many different things, right? I think understanding the quality of your data is the most important thing, because you want to make sure you're calling the right people with the right phone numbers. Now, nothing's perfect. There's always going to be wrong numbers, but pretty much I think practice is the biggest thing, and being confident and in your mindset. So my mindset when I cold call is I have something that's going to help people, that I'm kind of like, giving someone. So with Orum, we're selling a tool that basically generates more pipeline, which generates more revenue, right? And especially in this economy, it's hard. Everyone needs more pipeline. Everyone wants more revenue, obviously. So that's the mindset. And people that hate cold calling or don't like it are always ones like, oh, I'm scared. I'm worried. I'm going to bother this person. I don't know if they need my tool. And that's the worst mindset you can have. You want to sell something you believe in first and foremost, but you want to have that mindset that you actually want to help. And that helps me tremendously.
I agree. However, what you said was the secret to cold calling was tone. All right. So when you're making a cold call, I think it's super. Yeah, we're going to do a mock cold call, Lisa. And Jan, somebody called out in the chat. Are you going to show me how to do stuff? Yeah, stick around, y'all. We're going to get into Apollo. But if you don't know how to cold call, you're not going to be successful. Right. So I think it's important to learn from the best how to do it. Anthony, what's the importance of tone? Like, can you hit me with a good tone opener and a bad tone opener?
Yeah, totally. And tone is just as important as those things, for sure. There's many different things that are important, but hey Josh, it's Anthony from Orum. How are you doing today? Good? Things going good? That's a terrible opener. That's an awful opener. That will, someone hears that, they're like, who the heck is this guy? Is this AI calling me now? We got AI everywhere now. So one of these AIs. Here's a good opener, Josh, that I would like to use. And I'm like, hey, this is Anthony from Orum. How are you doing today? We're halfway through the weekend, I should say. You excited for the weekend?
Oh, I'm excited. I totally agree. I think the thing about tone is, for me, it's confidence, and it's realizing that everything is a performance. When you get on the phone and you make a cold call, you are performing, and the person on the other end is going to be affected by your performance. So you're hearing people in the chat say this. I agree. If you're smiling, that's going to come through in your tone. So when I do a call, hey, this is Josh from Apollo. How's it going? Immediately people are like, I don't know who this is, but like, it's going good. Okay. It's going all right. We're going to get into exactly that. Yeah. Your pitch is a performance, right? So we're going to keep moving here. We have a lot to cover. Anthony, I'm curious, like, how did you get really good at making sure you deliver the same tone every time you do a call?
Yeah, I stopped being outcome dependent, and I stopped I stopped being like, I got to book the meeting. I got to book the meeting. And obviously that's our goal. Don't be wrong. That's, our criteria, what we want. But I told myself every cold call, obviously practice like how we have here is super important. You need to practice, especially if you're new or struggling. Practice, 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 but also understanding I'm going to give my best shot. I'm going to do the best I can, and I'm not going to become outcome dependent because, that's it's important to give everything you have, give all your effort, and that's all you can ask for.
I totally agree, but practice makes perfect, right? So y'all, when Anthony was working for me and when I get a new SDR who works under me, I follow a 7-day process to help them get really, really good at their cold calling pitch. And we're going to talk about cold calling pitches here in a second, but this is what it looks like on screen. Day 1, you record your pitch, have them record it on their phone or, in Gong or in Apollo, whatever you're using. Day 2, 25 times practice, and you record the 25th. You do that every day for 7 days. And on the 7th day, record your pitch again, and then compare it to the first day. This is hard. People don't want to do this, right? That's the thing with cold calling. It's actual work. Auto emailing, it's not that much work. We all know that. But cold calling is real work. So, Anthony, do you remember, like, it was early on in our time at TeamFlow, how many times did I ask you to practice your pitch?
It was a lot. And I did it. I did actually do it. He's like, when we created like a new pitch that we were going after, I think it was like 50. Was it 50 plus or?
I asked Anthony to do 150 practice pitches one day to the next. Did it work?
It worked. We did so well. Like, I remember the days afterwards. It was 150 now, but like, I remember the days afterwards, we were booking a ton of meetings and it was awesome. No, I remember that.
All right. Pranav is asking if we're going to show a pitch. Yeah, we're going to do it right now. So let's get into that. What does that actually look like? Like, when you're making a dial, what is your process?
Yeah. So, everyone's process is different, but basically with my process, the great thing about the company that I work at, we sell a tool that actually helps us get into more personalized conversations over the phone. So our setup with Orum, we cold call with Orum, and basically it's a similar setup to what you see here at Apollo, right? When basically Orum's going to dial the numbers for you and it's going to filter out the bad numbers for you. And when someone answers the phone, let's say I'm cold calling Josh, trying to book a meeting with Josh, it's going to bridge me into the call with Josh. It's going to pull up their LinkedIn page. It's going to pull up all the account research notes I have on that account to personalize that pitch. So things like their tech stack, their obviously their LinkedIn page, I can personalize off that, and just many other different things that I need to actually personalize the call. Because personalize at scale is the most important thing. So I do that, and then we're gonna go. Do you want me to go into the script at all, or?
Yep, let's do it. So, what does your script look like?
Hey, Josh, it's Anthony from Orum. They keeping you busy today over there?
You know it.
Oh, well, I know I caught you cold here. Do you mind if I just level with you quickly and you can let me know if it's worth a follow-up at all?
All right, let's hear it, Anthony.
I saw you were heading up sales over. I got my other pitch up here, but we'll read it up here. I saw you were heading up sales. I got like different pitch over here. I saw you were heading up sales over at XYZ company. Wanted to introduce Orum if you had a minute. So Orum is a live conversation enablement platform that just gets your reps into more live conversations like the one you're in right now. Pretty much we're bringing reps 10 times more strategic conversation a day by integrating with tools like Outreach and Salesforce or Apollo. Yeah, I'd say. But Josh, wanted to ask, how are things looking on the pipeline side of things with the company right now? And here's a crucial part that a lot of people mess up on. And I'm going to touch upon this right now. So pretty much they go in for the close right away. you want to ask questions. So yeah, Orum sounds amazing, right? Apollo sounds amazing, right? But understand the person's pain points, right? What are they struggling with? For people that I call that usually take a demo for Orum, they're struggling to generate pipeline over the phone. So they're not getting a lot of at-bats. Their connect rate, is not so good. They're not booking a lot of meetings, and they want to book more meetings over the phone. And you want to ask questions like that. Is the team generating a lot of pipeline over the phones? And obviously you got to tailor that to what you're selling, but just keep that idea in your mind of who you're calling.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I'd say a couple things here, right? For this pitch, look, you guys are going to have to find the pitch that works for you. And we're going to move on really quickly here. We're going to get into Apollo. We're going to have Anthony do a pitch mock call in a second. But a couple things I want to say. I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat be like, what? You shouldn't be pitching. What do you mean? You're asking for their time. What do you mean you're keeping you busy today? Look, this is what it comes down to. Not everything is going to work for every person. I've heard Anthony do a pitch like this, and it works great for Anthony. I've heard another rep do the same exact pitch, and it doesn't work great, which is why what you need to be thinking about is practice and finding something that works for you. This is not a joke. Practice 25 and record the 25th. Practice 25 and record the 25th. If you have confidence and your pitch is perfect, you're going to have success. You're not going to have success every time. We're going to talk about that, but you're going to have success. What Anthony does really well that I think people can learn from, especially, is the conversationality of your tone. Hey, it's Anthony from Orum. Are they keeping you busy today? Like, what? Like, you hit me with a question, right? What does he do next? The second sentence. Do you mind if I level with you quickly? I caught you cold. It's another question. Humans are conditioned to reply to questions. So if you get on the phone and you just start pitching, hey, I'm calling from a company and this is what my company does. And like, what do you think? Can we have a meeting? You only ask one question at the end and you're asking for their time, which is their most valuable thing, right? When you ask a question in the beginning, at the very beginning of the call, that's way more effective at engaging somebody in a conversation. So I think there's a psychological prospect we have to talk about here. Okay, so what if they don't let you get that far, right? What if you start your pitch and they're like, I'm not interested?
Yeah. So what I say is, can I ask you, and this goes back to what you just said, Josh, about questions. Can I ask you one quick question? That's all I say. And 9 times out of 10, they say yes.
So I love that so much. So let's role play that a little bit. Call me right now.
Let's do it. All right, cool. Hey, Josh, Anthony from Orum. They keeping you busy today over there?
Dude, I'm busy every day. Why are you calling me?
Hey, Josh, I know I called you out of the blue. Can I just ask you one quick question?
Shoot.
Cool. You want me to go in the pitch?
No, I love that objection handling, right? Everybody's like, Andrew's saying, you sound like a telemarketer. Andrew, I hate to break this to you. If you're cold calling, you are a telemarketer, my dude.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about this, guys. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When Anthony started working for me the first time, what was your approach to voicemails, Anthony?
So I hated them. I didn't like them. I thought they were like a dinosaur thing, So but you want me to talk about it, or next slide?
Well, let's go to the next slide.
Cool. Well, I've been leaving, voicemails, but I leave pre-recorded voicemails, and these voicemails are, telling the prospect a call to action. I'm usually not asking for a callback. Sometimes I do, depending on the sequence that I have set up. But I always say this, a pre-recorded voicemail, saying, I sent you over an email. Let me know your thoughts. And my reply rate on emails has skyrocketed because of that. They're like, hey, I got your voicemail. And they actually take a look on what I'm trying to tell them so voicemail is super underrated tool to actually use, but you want to be efficient with it. I personally, now this is my personal opinion, I do think it's kind of inefficient to leave one by one voicemails, like a personalized voicemails. If you can do it on scale, though, it's very, very useful and efficient.
Yeah, I think it really depends on who you're selling to, and we'll talk about it. All right, look, we got to fly, y'all. We have a lot of content to get through. Here's what I'll say. Emails and voicemails warm each other up. If you want your outbound process to be more effective and you're only doing cold email, start doing cold calls. And if you're doing cold calls, what you have to understand is the average American gets 20 robocalls per day. I kind of made that stat up, but I think it's true in spirit. So if you're not leaving a voicemail, There is no way for your prospect to know that you're a human and not a robocall, that you're not calling about my car's extended warranty. People who are under 25, they don't think voicemails are real. But what you have to understand is that most of your buyers are not 25, right? Most of your buyers are not SDRs. They're my age and older. I'm a dinosaur. My voicemail is everything. I have voicemails I've saved from years ago. If you want to get in touch with me, leave me a voicemail and reference it in your email. Okay. So we got to fly. Anthony, I'm gonna get in the driver's seat here to make sure we get to everything. This is a template for a sequence. Okay. That's extremely effective, where the calls and the voicemails warm each other up. Day one, you email them and you say, hey, I'm about to call you. You call them after the email and you say, hey, I just sent you an email. Those two things work together. You call again on day 2, day 3, call with a voicemail. Day 4, email. You guys can see this. You'll see it in the recording, the sequence structure here. What I want to say about this, y'all, is 17 to 25% of all of the meetings booked at every company I've ever worked at come from voicemail callbacks. So that's literally one thing you can do right now to increase the effectiveness of your cold calling program. Start leaving voicemails, particularly on the first time you call someone. So you call somebody, you leave a voicemail. They know now you're a person. Call them again from the same number later, and they're going to be able to recognize this is the same person. Yeah, Amy, seriously, 17 to 25%. All right, real quick, Anthony, what's a double tap?
So and this is a bit controversial, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really do this anymore, but here's a little secret. If you really, really want to reach someone, try the double tap, and basically you call them 2 times in a row. Now, this is a bit controversial. I only do this in like rare circumstances, but call them 2 times in a row, because they're going to be like, who's calling me 2 times in a row? And they're more than likely going to answer it. And I've booked some amazing meetings out of it doing that. There are people that were so hard to get a hold of, but I've also burned some bridges, unfortunately, of being too persistent. So take that with what you will. Try it out. Let me know.
100%. All right. So we have a lot here. I don't think we have time to get through it. We were over ambitious. So we're going to run through. Guys, you got to keep your mind and your body healthy. You need to set long-term goals. You need to have an abundance mindset. Anthony does all this. He boxes. He gets on the treadmill.
Yoga. I'm a big yoga guy, by the way. Yoga, boxing. I love it. Weightlifting.
100%. Okay. So 8 hours of sleep every day. There's a lot that goes into this. I'm going to breeze through an SDR manager, and then I'm going to get into Apollo. We got a lot to cover. Before I do that, Anthony, give me an elevator pitch for Apollo, or not for Apollo, for Orum. What is Orum? How does it work?
Yeah, so basically Orum gets you into 2 to 10 times more live conversations, live strategic conversation a day with people you actually want to sell to. That's the elevator pitch of what it does.
Okay, for those of you who want to know how it does that, Orum is a power and a parallel dialer. It helps you call at least, you can call what, up to 10 people at a time?
So up to 10 people at a time. Yeah, I personally recommend 6 the most, but yeah, you can do 10 at a time.
Okay, so that's how Anthony makes 200 dials in a couple hour period. I'm going to run a poll right now. If you want Anthony to contact you about seeing a demo of Orum, say yes to the poll. Okay, this is how y'all can let Anthony know if he did a good job or not.
Also message me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. Message me saying, hey, I'd love to learn about Orum, or just pick your brain a bit. You know, I like, if you want to schedule some time in my LinkedIn profile, feel free to check it out. So up to you guys if you want to check that out.
Yes, I think Orum and Apollo are a very powerful combination. What I'm going to talk about, literally 2 minutes, what's the role of a leader? And then we're going to get into Apollo. We're going to talk a lot of how to. I'm going to run this poll for 10 more seconds. I've only seen a couple hundred people vote. So if you haven't voted, even if it's a no, jump in and say no. But we'll keep this show going. And you know, this is on me, y'all. We have too much content to cover in 45 minutes, and I want to make sure we have time to answer your questions. Okay, polls closing in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm closing it. Okay, now we didn't get to everything, so I'm going to share something with you guys right now. I made a one-pager for you that has all of the best practices Anthony covered. And I'm going to run this right now as a ticker that's going to run along the bottom of your screen. It says, get the one pager. If you click that, it'll take you to a place where you can download a PDF of everything that Anthony talked about. While that runs, I'm going to run you through some slides and we're going to get into Apollo. If you're a sales leader or a CEO, and you're running a team of people who are cold calling, there's some things you have to do to be successful. Okay. It's a NBA playoff time. So I'm going to hit you guys with a lot of basketball references. I'm sorry in advance if you're not a sports person. If you're a cold call manager or a SDR manager or a team lead, and you're not on the phones yourself, then you are leaving money on the table. It's extremely important for your team to see you walk the walk and not just talk the talk. This is a gif of Stan Van Gundy. This man is overweight. He is in his mid-50s, and he is showing professional basketball players how to conduct some ball handling drills. If Stan can do it, you can do it. So a lot of the time, I think as a sales leader or a CEO, we think like, I don't have to dial anymore. I'm past that. There could be nothing further from the truth, because everything that you say as a coach is going to hit harder when your team watches you do it. The second thing I want to talk about is keeping your team in a healthy headspace in the face of rejection. Even the best cold caller in the world is going to get their teeth kicked in 9 times out of 10, right? That's okay, because rejection is what makes you stronger, right? You just, in every area of your life. I learned how to cold call early in my career, and now I'm not afraid of being rejected. I had a lot of coaches who helped me maintain a healthy headspace in that process. And that served me well later. I had a company I needed to sell. I sold my company from a cold call. I closed a $200,000 deal from a cold call. If I was afraid of being rejected, I probably wouldn't have made those dials, but I did. The next thing I want to talk about as a manager is keeping it fun. Run spiffs, make bets with your team. Salespeople are like crazy money motivated, and I love to make bets with my team. I'm like, I'm going to bet you $20. I did this to Anthony. I bet Anthony $100 that if he started leaving voicemails, he would book more meetings. He didn't do it. Then I hired another SDR. She did it. She started booking more demos, and then Anthony started leaving voicemails. The next thing I want to tell you guys about is power hours, okay? Teams that dial together, smile together. Teams that call together, ball together. Do it as a team. I'm going to show you in Apollo how you guys can listen to each other's calls and help each other get better on the phone. But it's really demoralizing, especially if you're working remotely, to have one rep calling on their own. It's really hard to be successful. Lastly, celebrate the wins. They're few and far between relatively. So make sure you call out people who are doing well. One thing I'd say, keep in mind, even Michael Jordan missed more shots than he made. These are his career statistics, 49.7% from the field. He's considered the greatest of all time. Even the best cold caller is going to have more rejections than successes. The last thing I want to talk about is how to coach your team. So you need to coach your reps in the moment when possible. And you need to make sure that you're giving relevant feedback. My process is I listen to at least one call per rep per week. And I take notes during the call that I'm listening to. And for me, this is my time to engage the perfectionist in myself. In any cold call I listen to, there's going to be like 20 to 30 things that they could have done better. And I write them all down in the notes. But that's for me. That's not for my rep. If I try and deliver all of that feedback to that rep, they're not going to be successful. It's overwhelming. So I have a really simple framework I want to share with you guys. If a rep is in their first month on the job, when I deliver a call coaching, I give them one piece of feedback. If they're in their, and I don't give new feedback until they master the first feedback. So if I coach on a Wednesday, I give them one piece of feedback to implement in their next call. And if I coach again on Wednesday or Friday, and they haven't implemented that feedback, I just give the same feedback again. When they've mastered the first piece of feedback, you can move on to new feedback. Month 2, you can give up to 2 pieces of feedback. Month 3, up to 3 pieces of feedback, and never more than that. You don't want to overwhelm your reps, okay? So we're going to hop into Apollo. The last thing I'll say is give feedback right away. Let's get into Apollo. You guys have been waiting for this. I'm going to show you how to configure your dialer, find verified phone numbers, make calls, join calls, listen to recorded calls. And for the people in the webinar today, I have a special treat. Apollo is launching a conversation intelligence feature. You guys are going to get the first opportunity to access it. Then we're going to get into Q&A. So let's get the show on the road. I have to find my, I've got to find my demo account. Where is it? Oh, y'all, give me a second. I got to stop sharing my screen. I had to restart my computer a little bit ago. And when I did that, it took me out of my demo account. In the meantime, in the chat, tell me how I'm doing, y'all. If you guys don't like it, let us know. We'll try and make it better.
I think you're doing great. I love it.
Thanks, Anthony. Yeah. Anthony's the only one I care about. All right, just give me a second, guys. You know, we're doing it live. Sometimes there's some technical difficulties.
In the meantime, what do you guys think about my room? Do I need to work on my cleaning my room a bit better? What do you guys think?
You know the answer to that. You know what you need to do.
I know the answer.
Okay, can you guys see my screen? Yeah? Okay, let's get into it. So I'm in Apollo right now. I'm gonna show you guys how to configure your dialer. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna hop over here, top right-hand corner. I'm gonna click on the wheel. I'm gonna go to settings. In the settings box, I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna go to voice. Now, every person on your team needs to do this. You can't, as an admin, set this up for your whole team at once. Every single person has to go through this process. If you don't see this, it's because you need to upgrade your account, and Apollo will walk you through that, okay? We're gonna go ahead and set this up right now. So I went in here, again, I went to settings and voice. I'm gonna set up a phone number. I'm gonna pick a number from my hometown, San Antonio, so 210 area code. So you can pick any 3-digit area code in the United States or any alpha code of the country you'd like to call from. I will say, if you're calling internationally, like let's say you wanna set up a phone number from Spain, you're gonna have to show some documentation because every country has different laws around who can get a phone number in that country, okay? So for me, this is my Apollo phone number. I just set it up, I picked the number from the list. Now, what I can do here, okay, is I can set, this is a setting I don't personally like, but you can set this up. If I click this, use a local phone number by default, what it's gonna do is if I call somebody who has a 210 area code, it'll call them from an area code that like theirs. Like if I call somebody with a 415 area code, it'll call from a 415 number. The reason I don't like to do that is because a lot of people have moved from where they first got their cell phone when they were a teenager, and they know all the people from their local area code. I've had more success calling from my, like just a regular number than trying to mimic the area code of the person I call from. The next thing I want to show you guys is right here, outgoing call. So there's 2 settings. You can make a call from your browser, or you can make a call from your phone using a bridge, okay? A bridge basically just, when you make a call, it will call your phone, you answer it, and then it will call the person you're trying to call. Where you really want to leave or use the bridge is in the incoming call, okay? This is super important. Incoming call bridge, you set up your phone number here. And what's going to happen is Apollo, when you get a call back from the voicemail that you left, and I'll talk later in the Q&A if we have time about how to leave a great voicemail. When you get a call back, Apollo is going to call your cell phone number so you can take those callbacks on your phone. Super important, okay? So that's how you set up your Apollo phone number. And I'm going to hit save because we're going to show you how to use it. So I've just set up my phone number in Apollo, okay? This requires a professional or a custom plan to use. If you don't have an Apollo professional or custom plan, I'll show you how to get one in a second. The next thing I want to show you guys is over here on the left-hand side, go to calls. So we're going to talk about this really quickly. When you make calls in Apollo, you need to be using call dispositions. This is basically a way for you and your team to keep track of how these calls went. So this is how you can keep track of what script is working well, what sequences are working well, all of that. So Apollo comes with some dispositions out of the box. I really recommend you have at least these: a positive connect, a neutral connect, or a negative connect, okay? You're also gonna wanna have bad numbers, busy, left voicemail, whatever. When you've set up those call dispositions up here, you can create triggers to do things based on the call disposition. For example, if you call somebody who has a bad or wrong number, I can set a automation to move that person out of sequence or as a bad fit or into do not contact, okay? So this is a really powerful way to keep your call number or your call lists clean. So that's how to set up your dialer. Now, I will tell you a couple other things. There's a lot more to this as well that I can't go into every feature, but I will tell you, if you're trying to call internationally, so like let's say you're in Spain and you're trying to call somebody in France, or you're in the US and you're trying to call somebody in Spain, you're going to need a custom plan of Apollo to do that, okay? If you're trying to call within the US, you can do that with a professional plan. Now, I wanna show you guys how to find verified phone numbers, guys. So how did I get to this screen? Okay, I'll walk you through it. I go to Apollo, I click on settings in the top right-hand corner. I went to voice, and in voice, I set up my call, my dialer, okay? Then on the left-hand side, I went to calls. And calls is where I set up my dispositions. Okay. I'm I'm going to show you guys how to get verified phone numbers now. So we're going to head to the search tab. In the top left-hand corner, you're going to click on search. This is a little tricky. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It took me a little bit of time to figure out how this works because it's a little different from some other tools that are out there. But Apollo actually has an incredible database of verified mobile and direct numbers. And I'm going to show you guys how to find them. So the first thing we need to do is we need to build a list. Okay. And now if you guys don't know how to build a list on Apollo, I did a webinar. You can find the webinar on the Apollo website, all about how to build lists and find better leads. Go to resources and webinars and scroll down a little bit. It's right down here. It's this one, 5 ways to find better leads. But what we're going to do is we're going to build a really quick list. So let's say I want to build a list of VPs of marketing who have, I'm going to scroll down to email status, who have verified emails and who have been refreshed in Apollo in the last 60 days. And if you're like, how is he doing this? He's going too fast. I'll show you guys again in a second. So what I did was I went to more filters from the search bar. I clicked it. It brought me up every filter. I go to job titles, VP of marketing, scroll down to miscellaneous, email status, date refresh, and Apollo. Okay, this is where Apollo is unique, okay? So Elijah's asking, which plans support voice option, professional and custom? I'm gonna run a poll in a second where you guys can upgrade, okay? So this is where Apollo is unique. In order to get somebody's phone number in Apollo, you have to first save them, meaning you have to use a credit to get their email address. So you can't run a query or like run a search in Apollo and just find people's email address or phone numbers right off the bat. You have to first save them and then you can get their phone number. Okay, does that make sense so far? So, okay, here's what we're gonna do. I just ran this list. I can now click here on this little checkbox and I can either select just this 25 people I can see, or I can select all 135. When I do that, I have the option to save them. All right, saving them is going to use an email credit to get their verified email address, right? And at this moment, this is when I can find their phone number. So this is a little bit of a misnomer. It says mobile numbers here. What this actually is mobile numbers or their direct phone number. So maybe they have a direct phone number that's not mobile. It might be a landline, but it goes straight to them. That's going to be included in mobile numbers here. And if I click try to find mobile numbers for newly prospected people and I hit confirm, Apollo is going to get me the email addresses for all 135. And then it's also going to use a mobile credit to try and for everybody it successfully gets a phone number from. Okay, so I already built a list I want to show you how that works with. Okay, so I have this list over here, VP of marketing with mobile. I built this already. It's 15,000 people. I'm going to show you guys something interesting here. So these little tabs right here, total, net new, and saved. When you click on saved here, it's going to automatically, if you go run a search, it's only going to show you people who are saved. So if I'll show you what that means, right? So I'm going to close out of this. So I have 520,000 people saved in this search. If I go to more filters and I come in here, because I had clicked that tab, it only is going to show me filters on the 526,000 people. But if I click on total and I go more filters, it's going to show me how to do this. We're going to keep talking about cold calling, y'all. Y'all are funny. It's going to show me a higher volume of people, or at least it should show me. But anyway, so I have 526,000 people saved. I'm going to show you how to get the mobile numbers. So I've got this VP of marketing list. I can select people here. I can select, let's say, all of them. And then I can click this three buttons right here. And this is where I can get their mobile numbers. So I don't want to use 15,000 mobile credits. I'm just going to do 25. But because I've already saved these people, I can then come in here and I can enrich their mobile numbers. Okay. So once you've done that, you can now add these people to a cold call sequence. Okay. So we're going to go to more filters. And this is what you do. If I only want to find the people who have a verified phone number, so I've already selected my saved list, right? Which is why it's showing me 15,500 here. I can now come down into this miscellaneous tab and I can only search for people who have a phone number and it's mobile or direct and valid. Then I hit apply. So what this is showing me is it's showing me how to, like, it's showing me all the people who I just prospected who have a valid mobile or direct phone number. From here, okay, I'm going to select everybody and I can add them to a sequence. And I built a sequence for this, a cold calling webinar, and I can add them now. So that's how you actually get people's valid verified mobile number from Apollo, and you can add them in sequence. And I'm going to show you guys how you can actually make calls and join calls and listen to calls from Apollo. Okay. So while I get set up to show you guys how to make your calls, I'm going to run another ticker. If you guys are interested in learning more about getting more mobile numbers than it comes in your basic plan, you can just click on this link to book a meeting with our sales team about a custom plan. So the way that this works, guys, is Apollo only comes out of the box on a professional plan with 50 mobile numbers per month. That's probably not enough for you if you're doing cold calling at volume. You need a custom plan to get more mobile credits than that. You can do that on your own. You don't have to talk to sales. You could come in here to settings, manage plan, and you can buy more credits. But if you have a team, I highly encourage you to talk to our sales team. So if you're interested at all in talking to our sales team about a custom plan, you can click on the ticker. I'm going to run that while I come into Apollo. I'm going to show you guys how to make the dials. So I just added people to this cold calling webinar. Okay. So this is my cold calling webinar sequence, and it's got Anthony's steps, right? The phone call, manual email, phone call, manual email. What I can do now is I can just come in here to my tasks, and here are all the tasks that are associated to me. And I can even filter by sequence. I can say all the tasks from my cold calling webinar sequence, show me those. So I've got 12 in here, okay? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just gonna click here and start making my dials. So if I click here to call, this is gonna call Mark. And I'll have my call with Mark. I can select the purpose of my call. I can say how the call went. And then from there, I can just hit log call and I'm on to the next. So making dials in Apollo is actually very straightforward. Now, you had the opportunity to reach out to Anthony on LinkedIn if you want to make, 10 dials at once or 6 dials at once. If you want to go 1 dial at a time in Apollo, you can do that here, okay? And honestly, if you're new to cold calling, you should be doing this 1 at a time until you master the process. So this is how to actually make the calls in Apollo. And I'm going to go ahead and log a call. I'm going to say, I called this person. They didn't answer. It was a prospecting call. So that's how to make the call. I now want to show you guys how to actually join a call. So we talked earlier about dialing as a team. Teams that call together, ball together. Teams that dial together, smile together. If you're a team lead or if you set up a power hour for your team to call as a group, what I consider a best practice is having some of my reps call while some of my reps listen to their calls. And you can do that in Apollo. So what you do, I'm in the Engage tab and I went to calls. Now I'm in calls and I can click this button here that says show active calls. So when I click this, anybody on my team who's actually making a dial, I'll see their calls right here. And I'm going to try and show you guys that in Apollo's Apollo and see what that looks like. So give me a second. So we're going to go show active calls. Okay, there's no active calls in Apollo. Our sales team's all in the webinar. But I'll be able to actually see their calls here. And then I could join their call. And I can either join and just listen, or I could join and be in a mode called coach, where the person making the dial can hear me, but the person on the other end of the call can't hear the coach, okay? So that's how you can actually join calls in Apollo. The last thing I wanna show you about calls in Apollo is listening to recorded calls. So I can come in here to the calls tab and I can see all of the calls that my team set to record, I can see here. So if I click on them, I can actually listen to the call. I can see a transcript of the call. And this is like a really important part of the process for coaching, right? As a manager, I want to be able to listen to my team's calls. As a cold caller, I want to be able to listen to my own calls. So we've covered how to find mobile numbers, how to find the verified phone numbers, how to add them into a sequence, how to make the dials, how to join calls, and how to listen to recorded calls. I want to show you guys something else that no one has ever seen before. This is brand new. It's in beta. So if you guys have you guys ever heard of something like a Gong or Clary or a conversation intelligence tool before? Okay. I'm going to wait for some people to respond in the chat. Yes. Okay. Apollo is building something similar into Apollo. And this isn't live yet. This is here in beta, and you guys can actually join the waitlist to have this in your account. What this is this is actually a tool that will not only record a call, but it will analyze the calls for you. Okay. So I'm going to show you what that actually looks like. I have to pull this up in Apollo, so give me a second. Okay. So this is what Apollo looks like. And I can actually just come in here. This is the conversational intelligence beta that we have. And you can see I can actually listen. This is for video calls and phone calls. This is for everything. If you guys are interested in this, I'm going to drop a link where you can sign up in a second. But I can actually see a transcript of the call on the right-hand side. I can actually play the call. I can see who talked when, how much they talked. And I can set things up to help me really quickly as a coach or as a rep listening to my calls, make sense of how my call went. I can look at my key topics people talked about. I can leave comments. So if I want to leave feedback for my reps, I can leave feedback right here. And I can see all details about the call. This is directly in Apollo, guys. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to drop another one of those ticker links. If you guys want to sign up for that beta, just say yes to the link. You have to be logged into your Apollo account in order to join the waitlist for this. Okay. But this is conversational intelligence. It's brand new. This is not released to the general public yet. I'm sharing it with you guys because you came to the webinar. So you have to be logged into Apollo again for this to work for you. Okay. So that is the Apollo portion of the webinar. I'm paying attention to the chat. I'm hearing people talk about a lot, oh, we didn't talk about cold calling enough. We didn't talk about Apollo enough. Like we can't make everybody happy all the time. So I'm going to let this run for just a second. While we do that, I'm actually going to start taking some Q&A. So let's hop into the Q&A tab. Anthony, have you been paying attention to the Q&A tab?
Yes, a little bit. I've been checking the public chat mostly, but I have the Q&A pulled up right now.
All right, let's pop into it.
Cool.
Okay. Instead of a voicemail, what about WhatsApp voice notes? I personally stay away from WhatsApp and anything other than voicemails. I really like to do it in Apollo itself. And I'm going to stop running the Q&A for the link to join that beta because, guys, we covered a lot. There's so much Apollo can do about cold calling, about finding links, about finding lists. Like there's a million different things you can do in Apollo. If you have a team and you want your team to be cold calling, you need more than 50 mobile credits a month. Request a demo from our sales team to talk about a custom plan. I'm going to run a poll for that right now. You guys will have the opportunity to get straight in touch with our sales team to learn about a custom plan from Apollo. While we do that, we'll get into the Q&A. Okay. Give me an example of a great voicemail. Yeah, I saw this pop up a lot. All right. So I'm going to answer it right now. So a really great voicemail for me is very, very simple and straightforward and to the point. My voicemail sounds like this. Hey, Anthony, this is Josh from Apollo. Give me a call back. Anthony, what does your voicemail sound like?
So depending on the sequence, I do leave something like that, but I think the most important thing is keep your voicemail under 7 seconds, 6-7 seconds long. But what I like to say, Josh, is I like to say, hey, Anthony from Orum, no need to give me a call back. Just sent you over an email. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Simple, straight to the point. That's what I say, but depending on the sequence, I also say that. So it really depends, but those two things are the majority of what I say.
Yeah, I agree. I think straight, short and sweet to the point. What I would say about voicemails is don't try and pitch on the voicemail. This is where people go wrong is they try and like, hey, this is Josh from Apollo. I'm calling because we can help you guys get more verified leads and more mobile numbers. And you should, definitely give me a call back. I can help you blow it up. Like you don't want to be in a situation where somebody like they listen to it and they immediately are able to decide like, nah, that's not what I want. Instead, I would frame this as you're trying to build a relationship with somebody to have a conversation and see if they need what you have. And the best way to do that is to leave a voicemail very similarly to how you would voicemail a friend. Hey, Mike, it's Josh. Call me back. Hey, Anthony, it's Josh from Apollo. Call me back. That tends to work best for me. I get the call back, and then it's an opportunity to get into the pitch. Is there a way to avoid profiles without mobile phone numbers? Cassie asks. So yeah, we can do that. So when you're in Apollo and you're searching, remember that you can only get mobile numbers from people that you've saved. So that's why I recommend like build your list first. And then once you've built your list and you've got the email addresses for everybody, that's when you come into more filters and you filter only by phone status and confidence. If what you're asking is like, can I only build a list of people who we know have phone numbers? In Apollo, you have to build the list and get their email address first, which is why I recommend like, you should be emailing and cold calling. So when you're building a list, build a verified email list, which makes sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck there, right? You're getting only verified emails, and then you're going to try and get their phone number so you can hit them both on email and over the phone. Okay. Apollo calls integrate into HubSpot, Clayton. Yeah, Apollo integrates into HubSpot. You can log your calls to HubSpot. If you have more questions about that, I highly recommend talking to our support team in the product. Just log into Apollo and open a chat. If you're also interested in learning more about a custom plan where you can get more mobile numbers and international dialer and all of that, talk to our sales team. Okay, this is for you, Anthony. When you're dialing 6 people at once, what are you doing when the dialer is working and you're waiting? And what happens if it connects to 2 people at the same time?
Great. Both great questions. I mean, honestly, if you're calling 6 people at once, right, you're going to get connects every 30 to 45 seconds. So I'm staring at the screen. I'm ready to get someone to answer the phone, which is pretty quick usually, right? So I'm just waiting there. I'm not on Instagram or TikTok. I got to be focused and really lock into what I'm trying to do, right? And when 2 people answer at the same time, that's a question that a lot of people ask, right? Whoever answers the phone first, they're going to get bridged in and you're going to talk with them. Unfortunately, I can't talk to 2 people at once. So it's going to hang up on the other person and you're going to have to call them back. But I've never ran into a circumstance where the other person's like, hey, you called me at another time. No one ever remembers anything like that. So you're just going to call them another time. But, that's not a bad problem to have, too many connections, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to take some more questions in the Q&A, but guys, remember there is the poll that we are running at the moment. So keep that in mind. Let me see. I'm just going to run that there. Okay, running through the Q&A. Man, you guys are roasting me here. Only 30 people say yes. That's all right. Any tips on how to get to decision makers? Yeah, we can talk about getting to decision makers. So getting to decision makers. All right. If you run into a gatekeeper, the best thing that you can do with a gatekeeper is be completely honest with them. Okay. So this is what I do. I get a gatekeeper and I say, hey, this is Josh from Apollo. Listen, I'm trying to talk with your boss. I know it's your job to prevent me from talking to them. So is it okay if I tell you why I'm trying to get in touch with them and you can tell me, whether you think it's worth their time? I just have the conversation with the gatekeeper, but that sentence, it works. It's actually magical. When you say, I know it's your job to keep me from talking to them. Is it okay if I tell you why I want to? Most gatekeepers are going to be like, all right, I'll hear you out. Right. So the other thing I'd say about that is like, you're going to probably need to talk to the gatekeeper more than one time to get to the decision maker. So the first time I call them is I say, hey, this is Josh from Apollo. I know your job is to keep me from talking to them. Can I tell you about why I want to talk to them? I give them the pitch and they're like, yeah, he's not, or she's not interested, try again later. You have to try again later. Call them again in a month. Be like, hey, this is Josh from Apollo. Maybe you remember me. Maybe you don't. I called you a month ago. I'm still trying to get in touch with your boss. Can I tell you again why I want to talk to them? And like, maybe you can tell me when a good time to call would be. With a gatekeeper, you're going to need to make that call 3 or 4 times until they have a relationship with you and understand that you're not just, some jabroni or some spammer that's going to try and waste their boss's time. So that's how I've been successful getting past gatekeepers. If you're running into a gatekeeper, you're probably selling a high value product. So it's probably worth your time to build the relationship with that person to get in front of the decision maker. Anthony, do you have anything to add there?
Yes. I personally don't, and this is just, for who I'm trying to sell to and things like that. I don't call a lot of gatekeepers. I honestly only call mostly cell phone numbers. Like very rarely, like, do I ever call a gatekeeper, but Josh made some good points on that. But honestly, like from my experience, I think you can still book meetings through gatekeepers and things like that. But the bread and butter is 100% going to be cell phone numbers. And I think there was a question though.
Well, unfortunately, we got 30 seconds
30
left
seconds
before this ends. So can we take it in 30 seconds or no?
No, we can't.
Right. Then let me end it here. Y'all, cold calling is a huge topic. I think we're going to do more webinars like this. We are going to be making more educational content that you can watch on demand. So what I'll say is thank you all for coming so much. Please connect with us on LinkedIn. If you have feedback about this, we're going to email you the recording, the one pager, and a place where you can give us feedback. We love you. We work hard to make these as good as we can. And I'll see you next time. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everybody.